Hi everybody. In this video, I want to give you a little bit of a real life demonstration of how I would go about tackling the task of creating an outline for the upcoming assignment. So the first thing I'm going to do, which is the first thing you should always do when you have an assignment, is I'm going to go and I'm going to look at the prompts. Anytime you're given an assignment, you will have a series. Usually you'll have a couple of choices for a prompt, or you'll have one specific set of assignment instructions. That's where you want to start. What exactly are you trying to answer? What exactly are you trying to do? So in this case, I'm going to go to the critical thinking prompts that I have in this course because these are the ones I'm picking from. So these are the three prompts that are listed here. These are the three options that I have specifically for this personal essay. So the very first thing that you want to do is pick one of these three things. Describe a specific instance in your life when you did or did not use critical thinking. Write a narrative about the event. Describe a challenge you encountered and how you used critical thinking to face it. Write a narrative about the event. And choose one or more of the prompts listed under connect to the text. And those are listed down here. So basically, you're trying to pick a prompt that's going to be the central point of your paper. You're going to make that the focus of your entire personal essay. So I'm looking around, and some of these questions I think don't work as well for this prompt. So I'm actually going to stick with one of these because remember that the Unit 1 personal essay is about you, your ideas, your reactions, your connections to the reading on a personal level. So in order to kind of do that, I'm going to choose one of these super personal events. So I am going to pick this one, the describe a challenge you encountered and how you use critical thinking to face it. And what I've done in a Word document where I've kind of already started this is I've just pasted the prompt right at the top so I don't forget. Because essentially my thesis statement is going to be a direct response to this prompt. So I want it there right front and center. So I'm going to open up a Word document. This is going to be my outline. And I'm going to copy my, just Control C and copy my prompt right in there so that I can look at it while I'm creating the outline. So there it is up top. The next thing that I'm going to do, and you can see that I kind of already started doing it, is I am going to pull up any kind of guides or samples or templates my teacher has given me so that I can sort of follow along. So if I have a specific sample that I've been told about, I'm going to have that up so I can refer to it as I create my own. So the sample that's available here, I actually have pulled up already. It is, but I can show you where it is. Under course readings, there are samples. In this samples folder, this is Skenazy article and sample assignments. I'm going to click on that. For that particular, my slow computer a moment to load. If you click on the reading, writing, arithmetic, and 0 about jobs, you'll see that there is a sample document for each of the steps that we're going to complete in Unit 1. So I just downloaded the sample outline Word doc because that's the format I'm trying to emulate. And I have it right here, and it looks like this. And you can see that this sample outline has Roman numerals. And you can see that next to a lot of the Roman numerals, we've got complete sentences. And in the further indented details, we've got phrases and words. I'm totally fine with that. To be clear, these Roman numerals are all standing for a paragraph. So this one means that this section is the first paragraph of the paper. In the second paragraph of the paper, this is the point that's going to be made. It's kind of nice that this is already a sentence because this is going to be the topic sentence, the first sentence in the paragraph. And these are going to be the supporting details that back it up. The third paragraph is going to start with this topic sentence and then is going to go over these points, include these more minor details, major details, minor details. Over here, we have the fourth paragraph, which is going to be about this topic, and then the fifth paragraph is going to be a conclusion. So essentially what we've laid out here is a 5-paragraph essay. I'm going to follow that format. You may decide that you want to add in another paragraph, make it 6 paragraphs. You may decide that you just want to cover maybe in depth, like 2 body paragraphs, in which case you would end up with a 4 paragraph essay. It's kind of up to you about how you want to organize this. This is one of those critical thinking skills that you're going to work on yourself, developing in yourself. Figuring out a plan. So what you're trying to do with these Roman numerals is come up with a plan for every paragraph. So you can see that in my sample document, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm working on it. And you can see that the first one, like this, is going to be an introduction. At this point, the only thing that really needs to go in here is a thesis statement. The thesis statement is going to be the kind of explanation in response to this. So my thesis is going to be responding to this prompt. Describe a challenge you encountered and how you used critical thinking to face it. Write a narrative about the event. So one other step that I want to make sure that we're taking, and it's a little bit difficult because we have kind of an abstract concept for our opening focus in the personal essay. But this is still important. I don't want to just write about critical thinking just in general. I want to tie this back to the article we read about critical thinking. This is the article that we are responding to in a way. This is the article that should be prompting us to think about our own experiences with critical thinking. So I'm going to be sure to refer back to the article. I want to mention the article in my actual essay as well. So one of the things that I'm going to do is actually to help me is I'm going to look over here at this list of critical thinking is and critical thinking is not. And I want to make sure that I'm not saying, oh, well, one time I used critical thinking is when I memorized, because it says that that's not an example. So I'm looking at skepticism and examining assumptions, challenging reasoning, and I'm using these this little chart here to help me brainstorm a challenge I encountered and how I use critical thinking to face it. So, doing a little brainstorming. So I did a little brainstorming, and I think I'm going to go with this idea of uncovering biases. So I'm going to put that down here as a reminder to me that I want to kind of talk about that. And in my thesis statement, I'm going to describe the challenge, and I'm going to talk about using critical thinking to face it. So what I'm going to do here for my thesis statement is I'm going to start by explaining the challenge. Okay, so there's my thesis. It's not very elegant. So I would probably go through and make it less wordy, but this is the basic idea. I want to talk about a time that I got an email from a student who told me that they didn't like the way that I was posting feedback for them on YouTube. I was posting it unlisted, but they still were worried about privacy concerns, and it made me really change and think about the way that I had been posting things online. And it made me shift how I do it in all of my classes. Because the student was right. But I realized that I was sort of having this immediate reaction of, well, I'm the teacher, the way that I do it is right. And that's not good critical thinking. That's not good intellectual humility. Even teachers need to have intellectual humility. Everybody needs to have intellectual humility because you can't change your mind and be flexible and do all the other good things of a critical thinker if you're operating from a place where you're always right and the way that you've always done things has been right. So I'm talking a little bit about uncovering biases, and that sounds like I'm also talking a little bit about examining assumptions. So these are points that I probably want to cover in my paper. I want to talk about uncovering biases, and I want to talk about challenging assumptions. Okay. So you can see that what I'm doing is I'm plotting out the different things I can talk about in my paper. I think what I'm going to do in the first paragraph is I'm going to plan to describe the event. And now I'm going to think a little bit about which should come first. So maybe this should actually be second. No, I'm going to do it the other way. And this should be the process that you're kind of going through. And again, this is not going to be my most elegant version of this. I'm going to go back and probably change it a little bit, but I'm just trying to get my thoughts out. And I'm going to kind of go back to my article and look and see if there's anything from the article that I want to include. Because I think that this line from the article is something that I want to quote as a piece of evidence in my actual in my actual essay. All right. And so you can see what I'm doing here. In this one, I'm going to come up with a topic sentence about challenging assumptions. In this situation, I had to challenge the assumption that the way I was doing it was right, simply as that is the way I was doing it. Okay, and I'm going to go on and I'm going to try and keep coming up with quotes that tie back to the article and points that I want to make in these sections. But this is basically what you'll do to create your outline. You're creating an outline that is answering the prompt and that's setting up what you're going to talk about in every paragraph. So hopefully that sort of live demo